Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time podcast, presented exclusively on the Chop Sports channel of the premier streaming network. We are recording this on Thursday, March 2nd. I'm your host, Laurent Courtines. In this episode, Harry the Haddock and Grimsby make history. Arsenal thrash hapless Everton, and the rivalry is renewed as Manchester United and Liverpool face each other in the league. But first, I'm having a sports crisis. So sport, why do we do it? Why do I pay attention? It drives me nuts. Before that, a little bit of housekeeping. Please like, subscribe, share the show. We're on squeakybumtimepodcast.com. We're on Laurent Courtines on YouTube, and you can find us on WhatsApp by finding the Squeaky Bum Time podcast on Facebook. Join the group, tell your friends, share the show, and let's get to it. Okay, sport. I know this is a little bit outside of the bounds of this, but this week was a little bit of a drag on the season and a little bit of like trying to get up for it. We had the bad Liverpool game against Crystal Palace. City sort of thrashed Bournemouth, and we're in a little bit of the doldrums after the World Cup. We're now sort of running things, and I get these moments every once in a while where I'm just like, why do I bother? I do 2 hours of podcasts. I do 2 hours of sports. And I do struggle with I don't know how else to say it, the kind of like, why am I doing this? Why do I follow sports? What is it for? Why am I driving myself nuts? And I often go into this when I think about, should I be doing more? Should I be doing this? Should I be learning how to shoot a bow? Should I be learning how to fix a car? And I go, well, I watch a whole day on Saturday, 4 hours of Premier League football, then another 3 hours to 4 hours a week on the podcast. What could I be doing with that full day of sport dedication? And I think to myself, man, could I be more? Could I be less? And I do ask, why do we follow sports? What does it do for us? Is it the endeavor of seeing incredible athletes do incredible things? Is it there to make us feel why is this thing grabbing me? Why am I sucked in? Sometimes in the abstract, you watch TV and you watch sports, you might be on your phone, you kind of lose the moments, but then you get sucked back in. And I just think about the final game of the season, Aston Villa being up 2 goals and City pulling it out with İlkay Gundogan scoring 2 goals in 5 minutes and City winning the league. And those are moments where you chase them. They become like a drug, like heroin. Well, how do I get that sports fix again? And I guess I'm missing that at the moment. I feel it once in a while. I hope the Champions League rekindles it. I'm not jaded. I'm not like, oh, why do I bother? But it is something that creeps into my head, and I wondered if everyone else felt the same way. How do you keep your sport love going? How do you keep caring about it? How do you keep making it matter? And for me, it's been this podcast. It's been the WhatsApp group, Manny, John, Alex, BJ, Salerno, just keeping everything going, keeping the names, the faces. Christian out in Nottingham, bringing photos of Forrest to our games. Redman bringing me shots of his running across New York City, and Chari telling us about what's going on at top. So the gang that's regularly in our group keep me going, keep the show going, and I wonder what keeps everyone else going. Is it just to be part of a group? What do we do it for? What is it giving us? And I do wonder about that often. Anyway, let's get to the show. First, we will go to the FA Cup, and I'll give you the scores before we get into the great and powerful Harry the Haddock. So we have the FA Cup 5th round just finished, and we had some really good upsets. First, Grimsby Town in the 2nd division, recently up from Northampton, from the Northern Leagues, beating Southampton 2-1. This is not the giant killing it sounds like. Yes, it's a Premier League team. Yes, it's a good win, but Southampton did play a weakened side. And if Southampton is a relegation team and they went young and they played a weakened side, you can imagine how poor they were. But let's get to the rest of the scores. Brighton advanced to the quarterfinals by defeating Stoke on a nice goal by Ferguson from Matomo. They play well, looked good for me. Blackburn defeat Leicester City. Leicester still listless, not playing well. They advance. City defeat Bristol City. Not too much to write home about this one. A good Foden game, but Bristol City didn't really give much. The aforementioned Grimsby Town, Harry the Haddock defeats Southampton at home. Mighty Burnley defeat Fleetwood Town, who were down a man. They left it late into the 85th minute. Fulham defeat Leeds on a great Paulinho goal. Leeds not really showing too much. United leave it to what? Squeaky Bum Time to defeat West Ham 3-1. Garnacho with the beautiful goal there. And mighty Sheffield United on a changed team defeat Tottenham and advance to the quarterfinals. So our round 8 looks like this. Round 8 looks like this. City, let me just get the draw. Sorry about that. I thought I had it up, but I missed it. The draw looks like this. The weekend of March 18th, City play Burnley. Vincent Kompany returns to Man City. Man United at home get Fulham. Not an easy game. Sheffield United versus Blackburn Rovers. We will have a non-Premier League side in it. And then Brighton draw Grimsby at home. All Premier League teams at home. That's a big payday for Grimsby Town. And we go to see the Mariners of Grimsby and their giant killing. Grimsby Town, very small club. I knew a woman who I worked with at Tops who was from Grimsby, an awful redheaded twat, but let's not talk about her. But yeah, Grimsby are in Lincolnshire, way out in the middle of nowhere. Had some early history, were participants in one of the largest attended games in FA Cup history, 100,000 at Old Trafford in the 30s, but had been in hard times and had fallen out of the league. So last season, we talked about Wrexham a lot. Grimsby Town were the team that put out Wrexham. Grimsby were in the National League, as we know from watching Wrexham, a very tough division, and Grimsby got out of it through the playoffs. Solihull Moors, I believe, went up on their own. Is that right? I could be wrong, but doesn't matter. But Grimsby defeated Wrexham to take their spot, and Grimsby went into League Two. But Grimsby have a lot of history. They've been up and down the Premier League. They're a small fishing village in the northeast, sort of about 100 miles south of Newcastle, in the kind of like that eastern side of England where no one lives. Everybody lives in the central, in the middle, and in the western sides. The eastern side's all marsh and kind of weird, and so it's a little bit more isolated. Grimsby is well supported where they are from, but a small town. They get past Southampton, who were really poor and just didn't really put up much of a fight on 2 penalties. Now, to be fair to Southampton, they took like 20 shots and just could not get the goals they needed to defeat the mighty Haddock. Yeah, 22 shots, 3 on target. Listen, Grimsby only had 3 shots on target. 2 of them were penalties. It gives you a sense of where this game was. Yeah, not much for them, but the big deal for this is that this is a League Two team making it into the FA Cup quarterfinals. This is what an open system of football looks like. In the United States, we have the US Open Cup. They don't even know the schedule until 2 weeks before it starts. It starts really regionally. It doesn't really manage the country really well. To be fair to the US Open Cup, it has been around since 1922, but it's been all over the place. So the United States does have this, but it doesn't carry the magic of the cup. I mean, for a team like Grimsby Town, you know, we know that the FA Cup starts with 792 teams. And to be Grimsby Town at the bottom of League Two in 16th place, not in the relegation zone, they're not going to go down to the National League again, but to be in the last 8 for this team, it makes their season. Now, would they have rather had United? Sure, because that's a bigger payday, because they share the gate, but they will get Brighton. They will have a chance to show who they are. None of these guys are big name players, but for their division, they're pretty good. Like Gavin Holohan, who did score the 2 penalties, took 2 penalties. He showed Harry Kane how it's done on either side of the half. He's a guy who plays in a National League, Republic of Ireland. So this is an Irish kid immigrant playing in the freaking swamps of Grimsby in a fishing town. And they just get a chance to move on. What's great about Grimsby is they've got an amazing mascot called Harry the Haddock. People carry around plastic fish. People wear fish masks at the stadium. Just a little bit of a weird thing that you pick up from these local clubs. And these are what make the FA Cup so fantastic. It's just this opportunity of learning about another team, learning about a small team. And it's what works for football. It's what makes it such a fabric of people's lives. These folks out of Grimsby are going to have a day. They're going to go down to the South Coast. They're going to go to Brighton. They're going to go to a real place, unlike Grimsby. I'm just hammering on it because, it's fun. And they're going to find out about how well they can go in the FA Cup. So it's a really big deal to them. It makes a huge difference. Their manager, Paul Hurst, should feel a lot of credit, and they should feel really good about where they are in this season. So cool for them. Cool for everyone else. I'm just going to give a little bit of conversation around other FA Cup items. Tottenham, another opportunity for silverware goes wanting against Sheffield. Now, Sheffield are a good team. They're not as good as Tottenham. Tottenham should not be losing to Sheffield United. Now, did Spurs start Harry Kane in this game? No, but they should have enough. I think the key thing here is that Richarlison isn't really doing that well. He's not been able to replace the goals and give the production that I think Spurs were looking for. So he doesn't score, and Tottenham just sort of whimper out of this 1-goal drought. They still haven't won a trophy since 2008, and that was a League Cup. So they're hurting. They do still have the Champions League. They're not going to win the Premier League. So the darkness for Spurs continues. For United, this is a nice win, a little squeaky bum time, a little energy. They keep the momentum going. The Ten Hag revolution is still revolutionizing. I think Weghorst again is the leader of the cheerleaders within the context of this these matches. So it is cool to see he's still part of this club. He's still driving them forward. He leads the celebrations. There's something about Weghorst that I think United fans probably really like. They know that he's pressing. They know that he's putting in effort. They know that he's not really supposed to be there. He's a weirdo. He's a little bit of a gangly guy, and he gets to be playing striker for Manchester United. And I think he knows that. And I think it shows in his play, and it makes it for a nice story around Wout Weghorst and the rest of the boys from United. Other things around the FA Cup. City, again, not really a problem. They move on. More interesting in that, it didn't hurt the team. Rico Lewis back in the side, not really too exciting. The biggest thing is that we draw Burnley and we get Vincent Kompany back playing against Pep Guardiola. Exciting stuff there. And a little bit on Burnley being sort of crap. But this is an opportunity for certain teams to win more trophies. It's an opportunity for, the favorites now have got to be United and City. A Manchester derby could be the final. Pretty easy to have happen. You never know with the draws, but that's where we are there. Now, we change gears away from the FA Cup. We had 2 midweek games of 2 teams on different spectrums, but we go to Arsenal. They played Everton. First 40 minutes of this game, not really much in the way of anything. Wasn't really exciting. I thought really Everton played well. They played their game. They did what they were supposed to do. Then a bit of real magic from Saka. The pass and the turn into space. Saka just fires it in from Zinchenko, if I remember. Zinchenko fires it into Saka. Saka takes it on the half turn, spins, gets into a tricky area, near post on the goal side and fires it in. Top bins. It's very much the Aguero goal around. My cat got in the way. Go. Very much the Aguero style top bins. And once the goal came, then Martinelli got another one on a mistake by that Saka actually created on a mistake by Gay. So Arsenal went in level 2-0. And then I think Everton were cooked. Odegaard with a really nice goal, deflected in, and then Martinelli with another one off his right foot. And Arsenal cruise 3-0, really not a problem. 4-0, really not a problem. They cement this is the world famous game in hand that when you're charging for the title, you need it. So they are now 5 points clear of City. 5 points, a goal, a draw, and a loss. So not that much, but it just means that, they have a loss that they can give. There's going to be tougher games, but I think the blip that we saw from Arsenal was righted. They had the issue at Aston Villa. That big comeback really made a difference on the 2 games they lost. Then you have the Leicester game, which was so easy. It was so weird. But Arsenal back in the driver's seat, back moving again, got everything in line. There's a lot of Jorginho love coming. There's a lot of Trossard love coming. I think one of the things that I find really interesting about that move was we heard them wanting Mudryk and I don't remember the other central. They were in for somebody, but they clearly had another plan, pivoted quickly, went to Trossard. Boom, boom. Oh, then they got Jorginho. Boom, boom. Not a problem. Like, they had contingency plan. They probably had like 5 or 6 names ready to go. And that's the sign of a good club. I think if you remember, United would get into trouble with this. They would have one target and just chase. And we saw that last offseason in the transfer market with De Jong. And then they get Casemiro. And we were like, oh, what's this? Is this just a bad deal? And it ends up working out. But it was a weird transfer market and a weird process on how they got that moving. And so I think about that and the way Arsenal did their business. And they recharge. I think the Trossard move is really good. It sort of solidifies the Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard group with Trossard as a strong 3. Jesus will come back. There's a little bit of refreshing, a little bit of push. On the Everton side, they need goals. Neil Maupay is just... He was a problem for Brighton in scoring goals, and now he's not even taking shots. Brighton created more than enough chances for him to score. Now he's just fluffing. He had a couple chances to get in on, didn't take a shot, took extra touches, chances went longing, and he got pulled. So the issue for the great and powerful Everton is, it's nice. They played okay. They had opportunities. They didn't have like a bad goal difference. They had a XG of 1.2, which is decent, even though they gave up XG of 0.3. They shot themselves in the foot, so that's fine. But they need to score goals. They put 5 shots on target, which is a good number for Everton. When they put 5 shots on target, they need a goal out of that. So that's where they are. And then we go on to our friends at Liverpool. This was a tricky game, I thought. Sort of quiet for a while. Let me just make sure I got the right game. There are games that pop into my head and then I forget I forget what actually happened in them. Yeah, this game was left late. It was 0-0. Van Dijk with the goal, then Salah late. Yeah. And Liverpool huffed and puffed. I thought they created chances. I thought they played well. I think for Liverpool, these clean sheets are good. They have 2 clean sheets in a row. And their problem was defensive. They were giving up too many goals and too many opportunities. And they really didn't give Wolves anything. Only 1 shot on target. So good baby steps for Liverpool. Moving into 6th. Getting themselves in a position for, of the top 6, now Liverpool in 6th. Newcastle and Spurs feel weak to me. And Liverpool is right on their heels now. Liverpool can take one of their spots. They're 6 points behind Spurs, but their goal difference is the same. Their quality is the same. They're both a little bit flawed at this point. I think if you look at the underlying numbers, the XG difference against Liverpool stands at 10. Spurs is at 6, excuse me. So in terms of quality, Liverpool are the best of the group. Aside from Newcastle, whose was much higher, but theirs is mostly based on defensive numbers. Liverpool's actually right in line with where you'd expect. They have a goal difference of 12. Their XG is 10. So they're essentially playing as you'd expect them to. And then Newcastle probably are in a dip in form. They're probably a step away. So it's really between Liverpool and Spurs. And I think in the long run, you trust Liverpool to find a way, especially with Jota coming back, especially with Diaz a couple weeks away. I think all those pieces that Liverpool have been missing, getting them back. I mean, as I like to say, if you've listened to the show for the long time, football is a weak link sport, and it's not always a direct issue that can help you, right? Like getting Jota and Diaz can actually help the Liverpool defense because of the way they press, the way they change things. If you look at what's happened a good example is look what's happened at Man United. Getting rid of Ronaldo and replacing him with Wout Weghorst has completely changed the value of Fernandes and Rashford because he's doing all the work. He's doing all the running. He's doing all the pressing and creating problems that creates attacking opportunities that score goals or stop a run from actually getting to a defense. So you can defend from the front, and the more options Liverpool has up front to defend, the less times their defense is going to be exposed, the less times the midfield has to be the one challenging. So maybe, a stronger link up front will change the way Liverpool can score and they'll move forward. Because I don't see much from Spurs that's going to pick them up. I mean, it'll be tight. I just think I trust Liverpool's institutional DNA to get them out of their funk and cover the 6 points ahead of Tottenham. That's just my own thinking. Now, on the Tottenham side, they could be going, well, Son hasn't scored any goals yet. So why are you saying that? Why are you pushing that? That narrative. So I do think about that. And then before we go further into the Man United preview of Liverpool, I do want to touch a bit more on the Bristol City result for City. This is a Foden Alvarez attack. Foden and Alvarez are really good, really young. City getting into gear, getting themselves together, do have Newcastle on the weekend. Lunchtime game will be difficult. The 3-3 at St. James's Park for City was a watershed game. It was the moment that Pep decided we're not going head-to-head with people. We're not playing up and down. We're not just going to kick the ball to Haaland. We're going to control games. And that was a moment where City's season kind of contracted a little bit, and we decided to be more defensive, and that's when he started pulling people into the midfield more than playing a back four and just going up and down. He got scared of Newcastle. But this is a weakened Newcastle coming off the League Cup that they'll be completely disappointed about, and now going into a game where they really can't create anything. City are a good opponent for Newcastle because Newcastle want to go on a break. But if City get more pragmatic like they have been, they may just sit deep if they get an early goal and just be like, go ahead, Newcastle, try and break us down, because they can't. They really can't. So that's really where we are and interested there. Now I'll take us on to, we talked a little bit about Liverpool. Talked a little bit about United and their West Ham game. Now the two meet in their Premier League clash on Sunday. This is a much, much, much bigger game for Liverpool than it is for United. United are living on their League Cup. They're ahead of schedule as well. They're pretty ensconced in the top three. I don't think they really think they're going to go for the title this year. But for Liverpool, winning a game away, is it away? Let me just make sure. Just got to check. I think it's on Sunday. I have it in front of me and then I lost it. So these are the sort of things that happen when you're recording live. It is at Anfield. So Sunday late, the crowd will be wild. Liverpool at Anfield taking on Man United. I mean, it's advantage United for sure. But if Liverpool want to get their season moving in the right direction, this is the game they absolutely must have. We know how these two teams play. We know that Diaz, Thiago are out. Joe Gomez still doubtful. Eriksen and Martial still out. Looks like Sancho's out. Might not come back. We'll see. And Luke Shaw looks like he picked up a knock against West Ham. And we'll see where these two teams go. But it's closer than you'd expect. Young Basetic is going to have to play more of a role. He's going to have to handle Casemiro, Sabitzer, and Fernandez. And we'll see how this goes. I think that we see real Liverpool come out. It'll be one of these things where if United can survive the first 25 minutes against Liverpool and not concede, then I think they'll win. But if Liverpool can score a couple early or a goal early, put pressure on United, then I think the crowd at Anfield will push them on. I don't view this as a Real Madrid situation where United can come back. They're not quite at that level. They've been winning good games. I get it. It's nice. It's a good story. Rashford on form. But Liverpool at Anfield against United is different gravy. This is a different thing. Klopp will be into the boys to try and find a way forward and get this thing done. Van Dijk being back is a big deal. But we'll see what happens there. It's 6 versus 3. There's a 10-point gap. One thing that's interesting historically is how Liverpool and Manchester United are never great at the same time. It's like there can only be one red team that's really good at the same time. I'd love for it to have happened one day where it's Liverpool and Man United being in the City Liverpool spot or the Man United Arsenal spot where they go head to head for 5 years, but they're really good. I don't know if those days are ever going to be back. I don't know how those days will come back because it would mean that my team's in bad shape, but it's a huge deal for Liverpool. And speaking of old time matchups, we have Chelsea versus Leeds, one of the great rivalries of the 60s and the 70s. I don't know if you know this, but we'll go in a history machine. Leeds represent Yorkshire and working class, and Chelsea in the 60s represented swinging London. They had, rest in peace, Raquel Welch was one of their fans. And there was a moment in the 60s where Chelsea were fashionable in the King's Row in London. And there was a famous clash in the FA Cup final 1970 where it was just pure violence. And while Chelsea was the flash team, Leeds and Chelsea played the same way. They were both heavy defense, heavy, getting stuck in kind of style. And when they went against each other, they were just kicked the shit out of each other, blood everywhere, shins cracking, and just rough housing stuff. And only until Leeds went down in 2004 that rivalry really ended. There's a couple of polls, and you can look them up on Wikipedia, around Chelsea and Leeds just having this eternal connection between them. Now, neither of these teams come in great form. We know about Leeds. They're in the relegation zone, but they keep playing well, but not putting anything together. On the other side, we have Chelsea that is just a complete mess. Potter has got to win these games. I mean, if there's a must win for Potter, it's got to be this. I mean, we cannot say it enough. And now that Thiago Silva is out for Chelsea, this is a massive, massive game. Potter has to find a way to win. I think if he loses, he's got to get fired. I mean, it's not like Bowley is some kind of altruistic guy. It's just he has to fire him because the team's a mess. We like what's happening with Javi Gracia at Leeds. He's going to bring some stability. Maybe that will be in Chelsea's favor, but this is about as must-win a game as you'll find. There's nothing from the board from Chelsea that's saying they're going to fire him, but this is one of those things where Bowley is going to very quickly learn that the fans are a fourth estate in football. And if they don't, and if Chelsea have another bad performance at home versus Leeds in the relegation zone, they will riot. They will throw shit at him. If Potter thinks that his family is getting harassed and attacked and getting terrible notes sent to them now, wait till you lose to fucking Leeds, one of Chelsea's historical rivals. And anyone who knows anything about the club knows that this is a big one and knows that this one matters and knows that this is a fight to the death and knows that Chelsea are now sinking and falling apart. And if Potter does not find a level of aggression that he can convey to his side that this matters, he should get out there and start fucking kicking guys in the kneecaps, because it's time for Chelsea to show that you are a team and not a bunch of fucking mercenaries there for a check. Play for the badge. That lion means something. Have hearts of lions. You know that Leeds is going to bring it. Every one of those guys who plays for Leeds, the fans at Leeds demand that from the players. And Gracia gets that. He's a football man. He'll convey that to the players. And I think Ellen Road does lift the team so the players know, even though they're going on the road to Stamford Bridge, they'll get that feeling. I don't know if the Chelsea players are connected to the club enough to feel the sort of pain of the fans. But there's a couple other games I'd like to go through. I'll just run down the schedule. Early on Saturday, I'll be up at 5:30. No, I won't. City go host Newcastle in a big game. Arsenal get Bournemouth at home, about as cakewalk as a cakewalk can be. Aston Villa and Crystal Palace at Villa Park. Crystal Palace need a win. Too many draws. Aston Villa flying, playing well. The aforementioned Chelsea host Leeds United. Brighton play West Ham. That should be a good one. I'm kind of interested in how Brighton play against West Ham. West Ham still need a win. The mighty, powerful Wolves take on Tottenham at the Molineux. I do not want to watch this game. Then a relegation 6-pointer. Southampton v Leicester. Leicester need a good result after just being terrible against in the FA Cup and against Arsenal. I should mention Leicester beat Southampton twice, 9-0, or once. Could be bad. Then a real relegation 6-pointer at home. Nottingham Forest versus Everton. Everton desperate for this game. Tricky Trees slipping back down into the relegation zone. They need their home ground. I could see this being a 0-0 or 1-1. Then Liverpool, Man United at Anfield late on Sunday. And we have a Monday nighter. Brentford at home at night versus Fulham. Brentford at home at night. That's just about as money in the bank as a game you can find. But yeah, that's the schedule. Let's just make sure that we cover off our FA Cup. So in 2 weeks' time, we've got the FA Cup quarterfinals, City versus Burnley, Man United, Fulham, Sheffield versus Blackburn, Brighton versus Grimsby. And we have this weekend what I just read. There's so many games going on. Then we'll have more European games. We'll have more games. Ugh, football, man. Football is crazy. Football makes you feel. Football keeps you on your toes. I think that's all I've got for today. Trying to think of anything else that's out there in my brain as I think about where we are for the Premier League, where we are in the FA Cup, where we are for Chelsea and Leeds, where we are for United and Liverpool, where we are for Arsenal. Arsenal with a 5-point lead, taking it down the stretch. I did hear a stat. You ready for this? Only 3 teams with 5-point leads after 25 games have ever blown the title. Newcastle 95-96, Arsenal 2003, 2002, and then they became the Invincibles, and one other team. So it's about as close to being locked up as possible, but it's City chasing you. City are tough. City will come. I'm looking at City and feeling good about where they are now. So title race continues, games continue, and I am out of here. Okay. That was the Squeaky Bum Time podcast with Laurent Courtines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports channel, presented exclusively by the Premier Streaming Network. We record on Mondays and Thursdays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple, please rate and review the show. It means everything to us. And go on, Harvey the Haddock. Go on, Grimsby. See you later.